Good morning, everybody. Haven't had one of these in quite a long time. I hope that wherever you are, you're good. And I'm sorry I'm not going to start the. You won't be able to see me because I need to wash my hair. I need to do a whole bunch of stuff. And finally, today it's going to get properly above freezing. Not yet, though. Right now it's like, let me see, not you, it's still below freezing, that's for sure. It's 31 degrees, so I hope that by the time this live is over I can go and wash my hair. The floor is finally less cold, so I can even walk around. Yesterday I lost all day pretty much because I was supposed to get some Amazon orders today and I had scheduled them for today. So yesterday I was going to do stuff, and then in the afternoon when it was going to go to 33, go and clean the porch of snow. But I got a notification that my packages were arriving between 10 and 12. So I had to do that at 9 o'clock, and that wore me out for the day. Anyway, let's get back to our thing. Everybody misses spring, well, except for you happy people in Florida. So I thought, let me give you a few pointers on how to do something really, really pretty. And I'm gonna do it as brooches. And I can even do them as earrings or whatever. It's the whole concept that I wanted to show you. And you're gonna have at least 3 kinds of skinner blends, and then a combination of actually not a combination of flattened whatchamacallit, satin slice. Anyway, so for the base, essentially what you're trying to show there is like the ground, grassy ground, green ground, and the sun. Now you can do these with any kind of blue you have, just put a little bit of white in it. You can use whatever green you have. I still have some jungle, so I'm using some jungle, but you can use a regular green and just add a touch of black, just a touch of black, and maybe a touch of ultramarine. But for what I have here, it's not going to do a very nice transition. So what I'm going to actually do, I'm going to insert a nitty bitty piece of yellow, but I'm not inserting it yet. To start, I'm going to, this is a little bit too short. I'm going to first mix these, approximately mix them, okay, and do a little bit of a V fold. You know my V fold. So let me switch to the machine. And let's do a little bit of fanning. So these are very, and again, don't lose too much time on it has to be perfect. It's fine. It's going to come up just fine, no matter what you do. So at this point, I want it just a tad narrowed down. I'm gonna do a little bit of a V fold. That means I'm not putting line over line. I am folding at a little angle here. And then at this point I am going to place a little bit of yellow, and I'm going to put it right here, pretty much where the old line between the green and the blue was, and then continue doing my Skinner blend. And I'm going to change to a lower setting. One more fold. I'm almost done, by the way, with what I need to do on this Skinner blend. I'm going to start again at the thickest setting. And as you can see, it's not perfectly done, and you don't want to do it perfectly but I didn't work on big quantity, right? I'm just doing it for one, because you want to make it look almost like a painting. If you prefer to do it, perfectly perfect, that's up to you, of course, your prerogative. Now, my next thing is to get a pearlescent. I have here the peacock pearl. You can use the green pearl, you can use the new green, so all of this is Premo. You need something that's pearlescent and in greenish or tealish, because peacock is more like a very dark teal, and I know the camera shows it blue, but it's not really blue, as you know. And you will need any kind of texture that's a little bit flowery, and I like this one. Actually, let me check which of them it is. This one, give me just a second. It's Cool Tools. Is this exact one? I mean, there are several of the small ones with Cool Tools. No, this is not it, but you can use, I'll switch to it here in a second, so you can see the because, as I said, they have several like this, and you can use any other flowery stuff that you have, but you need fine lines. Okay, so you can use this one. Yeah, I have this one. This one is not as whatchamacallit, as dense as leaves and stuff. So leaves and tendrils. You can use leaves and dots, which is still not this one. No, this is the leaves and dots. This is the leaves and dots. And there's another leaves and tendrils, the fine line, that also works great. And you want, why I do recommend all the time using the cool tools, it's because the fine line makes it better for the flattened satin slice that I've shown you before. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to use the peacock first with a cosmetic sponge, and you can go with it with a little bit by bit as Lisa Pavelka shows it, but you know that I prefer to kind of hurry it up. And you always need a cosmetic sponge because that makes the clay not lift on the roller. I'm first lifting the, and by the way, and we talked about this before, what you have left on here you can use pretty much as a mica shift, but I think I need to redo it, to do this one more time. Let me just give it one more because I want more of these ones here. Just be careful because usually the fine lines are fairly shallow, so let me grab a thin blade instead of the rigid one. It's a little bit harder to work with a thin blade on this, but with a fine line it might be the better choice because these are so delicate that it might still want to come after the blade. I'm talking about the fine line textures. Remember that these textures are essentially designed for precious metal clay, not for polymer clay. Let's see, now it came up better. Alright, so once I did this, I'm going to lift it with this and pick up which side of it you think looks more like a, so this one looks the best. And then place this nicely here and do the tippy toe thingy. Let me close this. Do the tippy toe thingy to make sure that it's all nicely and then start folding the texture to leave the flowery stuff there. And there we go, it's very pretty. Now you can leave it like this if you want and just add the flower on top of it, on top of these. Or now if you leave it like this, it's fine to keep working on everything. If you decide to do the flattening, I suggest that you first bake the base and after that start adding the flower. Hold on, I got a thingy here on my acrylic. So remember, use the acrylic block, push down. If you decide, also another thing that you can do if you decide to have it flattened is to make these in crumbles and then do this, and that way they will shimmer. Okay, I need a piece of paper wax again, because remember the paper wax tells you, see how I still have areas here that are not stuck to the paper wax, and release a little bit and place it again. Release again, and let's do the roller rubbing. And you already have a beautiful design. I mean, you can work with this just as is with no issues. And there we go. And even if you didn't use the whatchamacallit, the crumbly thing, I promise you it will still be a little, it will still have a little bit of chatoyancy of sorts. I mean, you can see. And once it is sanded a little bit and then buffed, because remember, when you do this kind of burnishing, you don't need to do a lot of sanding, so you won't take much of the clay. Now let us place it. And remember, for brooches, if you want the brooches, always put it on something that's slightly curved so that you can place the brooch pin inside the curve. Now let me see, one more of this side. You can use a bowl, of course. I just cannot find my bigger bowl, and the stuff that I have is too, makes it too convex. Okay, after which use your cutter. And of course you can use cling wrap to do finer edges. Just remember, no wrinkles. I'm not gonna use it right now, but place your cutter. And of course I'm not going to bake it and sand it and buff it. I'm going to work directly on it. It's not perfectly straight, but it's gonna do just fine. The only thing that I want to do before I do anything else is to give it just a pinch of rounding here. So first do the edge all around at 45 degrees, and then you can go, because it still has like a little line here, so go ahead and round that up some too. And now we're gonna do a kind of fantasy flower that has a little bit of the colors of a daffodil, but not entirely. So in order to do that, what I'm going to do first is to get some white. It helps to cut with a sharp edge. I'm gonna get some white, and then I'm gonna get some yellow. So this is cadmium yellow. Don't use sunshine yellow because it's got a little bit too much green in it. Unless you wanted to do it with a lot of green in it. And just going to roll this long enough to be the same size, or approximately the same size. And then do again a fairly linear gradient Skinner blend. Okay, now I'm going to fan it once to narrow it down, and then comes the little surprise. So let's keep it line on line. Oops, you stay there. Don't make me put my nails in you. And now, kind of consider about 2/5. I mean, more than, less than 1/3, but more than 1/4. So if you'd have 1/4 here, and then 1/3 here, you want about this much. And we separate it. And I'm going to change to a thinner setting, and then do a V-fold, bringing the yellow much more into the white. Actually, I want it even more into the white. I'm going to fan again. Of course, I'm just making it in a small quantity because I'm trying not to waste clay with this clay shortage. Don't get me wrong, I still have clay, but as I'm hoping to get back on track, knock on wood, I don't want to use too much color. I'm gonna do a lot of stuff with scrap clay, but still. About 1 inch to 1 inch and a quarter. Just don't do a last one. They will all have to be the same thickness. So next, with this one, what I'm going to do is to add a pinch of orange on the yellow side. Not a lot, a pinch. And because it's a pinch, I'm going to just make it into a little string. And just place it here. Don't bring the edges, if they are too long, don't bring them over in here. And again, I'm going to go with it through the machine a few times, then fold, and then do the final. And fold, and as I said, it will be the final. And at that point, they will both blends will have to be the same thickness in order to get the effect that we are looking for. And it will be a much thinner thickness than this one. To narrow it down a little bit, so I'm going to roll it. As it's getting too wide before it reaches the proper gradient. Okay, so this is good, and I'm going to turn to like a 7 on the machine. Okay, and now I'm going to actually cut these in strips. And not strip segments. Remove the rounded edges and segments that I can comfortably work with. Of course, you can use your ruler. I'm eyeballing pretty much. I didn't eyeball that terrific, but oh well. And then do the same size on this one. Actually, let me put it the same orientation. So the heck? I had Finnegan again on this table early in the morning. He's as obsessed with clay as Connor is. Okay, now the trick is we're going to layer these a little bit off and then insert one of these from time to time. So I have 4 of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So pretty much every 2 of these, let's see, I have 1, 2, and 1 of this. This. One, 2, and 1 of these. 1, 2. So you can do a little bit more. Not perfectly equal all the time. But anyway, what I'm talking about off center, you need this thing on the orange part. So, oh shoot, I'm sorry, I forgot to switch. So I cut all of these and then I'm having 2 pieces of the orange ones and 1 of the just yellow, but put the yellow at the proper level, and then do again the orange a few millimeters up and the yellow at the proper level, and you can do another one here. And let's use this one. Because by placing them at a little different, and put them here, at a little bit different edge, it's going to create an effect. Okay, now I got this whole thing. It's going to look like this on the edge. You can already push these in and just start reducing. Make sure that it's nice and well fit together in the middle. And you go as little as you want, obviously. As small as you want, I mean. Not as little as you want. Gosh. All this time I didn't talk a lot. I talked mostly to my cats, so I'm starting to forget how to talk. Yes, I did talk on the phone and stuff. I'm exaggerating a little bit. So make the petal thing that it's going to be a flower that you want to be on about 1/3 of the brooch. So no, we are not going to use a flower cane. We are going to use just the actual petals to create a flower. I'm going to cut it at this point so I can reduce it better. And this should be about the proper size. You want it a little thinner, at least I like it a little thinner. Now the other thing that you can do is you can reuse all that stuff that got too much, and we can mix this up and use it for leaves, or but not just leaves, a little bud or something. It's too small to use the machine on it, that's why I'm not even bothering. Well, I hope everybody was safe who was in the area of the storms was safe, because it's been horrible, and the stuff that I'm reading coming out of Texas is frightening. I mean, to get to the point of finding people dead in their homes, it's absolutely horrifying. That's why I thought that with all this winter and everything, you might want a little bit of spring looking stuff. Okay, this should be okay. Let me get it through the machine once. Okay, and now we will start the flower, the whole flower thing. Before I do anything else, let's make a little bit of a middle, and I'll show you how to make a very, very pretty middle. Of course, you can just put a bump, you know, I mean, that's not a big deal. But what I want to show you is how to make something really, really awesome. What you need for this is a small ball stylus, or even the tip of a, kind of want it all equal, even. The tip of a toothpick, you can use all kinds of tiny things, the tip of a crochet, and on top of it I'm gonna put a very, very thin layer of yellow. As thin as my machine allows me to. Make sure you don't trap air. And then go ahead and do a lot of little again. Now do a little bit bigger ones. I'm gonna very gently shave the very top. Very gently. I need to clean my blade just a second. It's sticky. Okay. So what you want to remove is these you're getting a little kind of like cell effect if you want, and that does makes a great flower center. And then again flatten it, but you need to flatten it really good so you don't have much of holes. And then use one of those tiny cutters or a Kemper cutter. And you can do it fairly big. I mean, you can cut it fairly big if you want. I know I made a whole bunch of it, but I wanted to show you. But if you're going to make a lot of little flowers, a lot of brooches, you can cut a lot of middles with this. Of course, you can use that daisy texture, daisy center from PolyClay, but okay. Now to place these, I'm going to do a little bit of a, so remember, when you cut, place it like this and then cut like this, and then switch to the other side and cut like this if you don't want them squished. You want them about 1 millimeter. Now this part in a pre-recorded video would be cut a lot and also sped up, but we are not in a pre-recorded video. This should be enough. Then the other thing you can do is to grab again a ball stylus. I usually put a little bit of Armor All in my palm, and also have nearby a paper towel that's got an area with Armor All, just to avoid the clay sticking to my hand. but you want to do a little bit of this. The moment it starts sticking, use the Armor All, especially on the ball stylus. That's going to be the one that sticks the most. Not that much, but the effect is beautiful, so I really suggest you do this to the petals. You can leave them straight, of course you can. That's not a, it's too hard for you to do this, but see what beautiful effect that combined gradient did on the petals. I'll show it to you in a close-up at the end. Now, if you decide to do the flattened and sanded and polished and buffed, what you need to remember is that when you start placing the petals, you'll have to put there a little blob of raw clay with a little bit of bacon bond between the raw clay and the existing baked clay. Okay, this one didn't get very good at the end. The more interested in what should be seen is the white part, not so much the... Okay, this is not a... Alright, now you're placing first the petals, and I'm going to place the flower here. Okay. I didn't place that one that good, but as I said, my hands start not to be worth much. After I have to sit on the chair for a little bit longer time, I'm starting having issues. Okay, now start going a little bit outwards and in between the other ones. I mean, where you place the petal, push it a little bit outwards and in between the existing ones. I'm not going to even use all of them. And you can put a third row of petals if you so want to, and then simply place the middle. And you can go back if you want and gently pinch these ends a little bit like this. It's going to help them stand up a little. should have been done on the first row when I first put it in, but I forgot. But anyway, this should be it, and then you can take one of these or the end, whatever, and fold it a little bit and make it a little fatter. Kind of like this. Excuse me. And then let's grab a little bit of that green and first make a string. The only thing that I absolutely loved in all this craziness was how awesome the air was so fresh and so clean smelling. And living in the Dust Bowl of Oklahoma, it doesn't happen very often. Let's place another little string here. And let's make a little cap for that bud. And I'm going to just have this and simply cut a little zigzag here. And here I can give it a few lines to suggest the petals. And there we go. This is baked, and then do the back of the brooch like I've shown many times before. Let me show it in a close-up. Yeah, I got so much stuff to do around the house and in the house today that I'm not going probably to be able to do much of anything else. So there we go. See how it looks. Very delicate, very spring-like, and summer-like if you want. So I hope you enjoyed this, and next week I'll definitely, there's no bad weather in the forecast or anything, so I'll definitely have at least one extra live to catch up. Okay, have a wonderful day. I hope to see you tomorrow during the regular public live. And hopefully the worst is over, right? Thank you so much. See you all tomorrow. Have a wonderful weekend. Goodbye.